Hare Krishna, Namaste. Another interesting question. Every year I see my parents do some puja for their departed parents and grandparents and great grandparents. My question is, how can someone who passed away can accept something which has been given now? Is it even necessary to do such things? If one says that we are doing this for the departed Atma, then the Atma must have already taken birth elsewhere. That is what we studied in Gita, that anyone who dies takes birth, and anyone taken birth will die. If someone says it is not for Atma, it is for the body, then the body doesn't exist. In both cases, it doesn't seem to be right. So I asked my parents, but the response I got was, it is our tradition that we must follow. But I'm not convinced with such kind of answers. If I have to continue doing this in future, then I need to know why we do this one. When Atma cannot eat, when the body doesn't exist anymore, then what's the point of doing this ritual? Whom are we doing this for? Nice question. Every child must know answer for these questions. But before we answer this question, we have to take some time to understand what this ritual is. What has been mentioned here as puja in the question, which the parents have been doing for years or every year, is called Shraddha. Also, it is called as Tarpana. Shraddham means any act that is performed with all sincerity, with complete faith, as an offering to one's ancestors. Whereas Tarpanam comes from the word Arpanam, meaning an offering, which means basically an offering that is given to someone to show one's gratitude. Shraddham is done on a yearly basis on the tithi of the departed soul, whereas Tarpanam is done on a monthly basis during Amavasya. There are three main Tarpanam. One is Pitru Tarpanam, next is Rishi Tarpanam, and a third is Deva Tarpanam. Every one of us are indebted to these three: Pitru, Rishis, and Deva. Pitru means one's ancestors, Rishis are the sages, and Deva are the gods. By doing this, one doesn't get any additional punya, but if one fails to do these tarpana, then one surely gets sin, papa. Just like when we drive on the road in the given speed limit, we won't get rewarded, but then if we fail to follow the speed limit, we'll get punished. For our discussion, we'll only focus on the Pitru Tarpanam, as that's a topic and that's where the question is all about. Pitha means one who creates or gave birth. Pitru means those who were cause of my existence, my birth. It includes not only my father, the cause of my father, who is my grandfather, the cause of my grandfather, who is my great grandfather, and so forth. So Pitha is father, Pitru including my father and above. One may ask, why don't we call Pithas with a plural S? Why have to say Pitru? We can say Pithas when my father, my father's father, my father's father's father, every one of them gathered in one place in front of me, but we know that will not happen. So we say Pitru because this not only includes my family or my ancestors, it is more than that, a wider group of people, members. There are thousands and thousands of personalities who live in a world called Pitraloka, and they are called Pitras, more specifically Pitru Devatas. Like how in Gandharvaloka Gandharvas are there, how in Swargaloka Devatas are there, likewise in Pitraloka Pitrus are there. They are Pitru Devatas. If one of my ancestors have attained that Pitraloka, then he is not called as Pitru Devata, he is only called as Pitru. Just like when Yayati, King Yayati or King Dasaratha, who attained heavenly realm, they did not become Devata. They were still human. Likewise, when someone attains Pitraloka, they don't become Pitru Devata. They are just Pitrus. As long as they have the credit, the Punya credit, they stay there. Just like how one goes to heaven based on their Punya, and once the Punya credit is drained, they have to take birth again in this earth planet. Likewise, those who go to Pitraloka, once their Punya is over, they have to take birth again in this earthly planet. But that's not the case with the Pitru Devatas, who are permanent residents of Pitraloka. Permanent doesn't mean they live for eternity there. Again, it's based on their karma, how long they live there. After their period, they may go to the next destined destination. So, if my grandfather has done Punya karma to attain Swargaloka, then he gets there and stays as long as his Punya allows. If my grandfather has done Punya karma to attain Gandharvaloka, then he gets there and stays as long as his Punya allows. If my grandfather has done Punya to attain Aditya Loka, then he gets there and stays as long as his Punya allows. If my grandfather has done Punya to attain Chandraloka, then he gets there and stays as long as his Punya allows. If my grandfather has done some serious Papa, then he attains Narakaloka and stays there as long as his Papa allows. If my grandfather has done some moderate Papa and moderate Punya, then he takes birth again in this world, stays as long as his Punya and Papa allows. Likewise, if my grandfather has done some Punya to attain Pitraloka, then he gets there and stays as long as his Punya allows. He cannot stay permanently over there like those Pitru Devatas. So whether it is Swargaloka, Gandharvaloka, Aditya Loka, Chandraloka, even Brahmaloka, or even if it is Narakaloka, they all are not a permanent place for those who attain those places. They eventually have to return back to this earth. For those who doesn't want to go through this circus, may think to go to a place where they don't have to come back again into this world. And that's only possible if one attains to the spiritual world, Sri Vaikuntha. Now one may ask, what type of punya I must do to go to Vaikuntha? The answer is, one should not have any punya to reach to spiritual world, Vaikuntha. Does it mean one must have papa? Of course, answer is no. We know if we have papam, we cannot go to Vaikuntha. We can certainly go to Narakaloka. So the point here is, punya or papa, both are shackles, a chain that ties us into this material world. One is golden shackle, which is punya. Another one is iron shackle, which is papam. Both ties us in this world. That means one has to be free from both of the shackle, papam and punyam. Well, it is easy to understand one should not have papa. We should not even have punya. That means we should not be doing any punya karya, any dharmas. No, one must perform punya karma. But as one performs such punya karma, one should not take the credit. One should not think oneself to be the doer, to be the proprietor. And certainly one should not claim the result of their punya. It all goes to Krishna. Kayena vacha manasendriyerva buddhyatmanava prakriti swabhava karomi yatyat sakalam parasmai narayana iti samarpayami. Whatever I do, either by body, speech, mind or sensory organs, I surrender and submit all that to the Supreme Lord Narayana. So the answer is, surely one should not do any papa karya, but one must perform punya karya as an offering to the Lord. And this is what Krishna also said in Bhagavad Gita. Yet karoshi, yet asnasi, yet jugoshi tadasi yat, yet tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurusva matarpanam. O son of Kunti, Arjuna, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. If someone challenges asking, well, if I can continue doing punya karma but give the results to Krishna, can I also do the same, or can I also apply the same principle and continue doing papa karya and offer it to Krishna? Well, sounds like an intelligent, very smart question, but that is not what Krishna has recommended, nor Shastras. The papa karya, the sinful acts, must be totally stopped. One cannot find loopholes in such things. Now getting back to the Pitrus, what or where will they go after their time period is over in Pitraloka? Answer, it's all based on the individual's karma. According to their karma, they may take birth anywhere else. So these are some basic information regarding Pitru. Now that we know about Pitru, we also must know about Putra. Putra means son. One who saves his parents from falling into the hell called Putu. Therefore he is called as Putra. Shastra says that there are 3 important responsibilities for a son. Jivato Vakyakaranat, Pratyartim Bhuri Bhojanat, Gayayam Pindadanacha, Tribihi Putrasya Putrataha. These are the 3 responsibilities of a son. That is, number 1, Jivato Vakyakaranat. We will see this one at the end. Let's see the second and third one. Number 2, Pratyartam Bhuri Bhojanat means after the death of one's parent, the son must carefully follow all the rituals until the 13th or 14th day. Then he must invite friends, families and others and feed them prasadam. He should not differentiate between people. He should happily invite anyone and everyone and serve them. Number 3, Gayayam Pindadhanacha. At least before this person dies, he must make a visit to Gaya one time at least and offer Pinda to his ancestors. These are very 2 important responsibilities of a son. One should not think, because I went to Gaya, therefore I don't need to do the yearly Shraadham, the actual Tithi of one's father. It has to continue every year. So what are the 2 things? Pratyartam Bhuri Bhojanat, Gayayam Pindadhanacha. These 2 things after the father passed away, parent passes away. What about anything that he can do while they are alive. That is what mentioned in the first one. Jivato Vakya Karanat means as long as the parents are alive, living, their children must be submissive and obey the parents, serve them nicely. Therefore, three things are important. Out of these three things, the first one is very, very important because they are still alive. Therefore, one can make full opportunity to serve them nicely, to be submissive to them. And then after the parent passes away, one can take care of the other two responsibilities. If we fail to do any of these, that will cause us Pitru Dosham. Please understand, it is not Pitru Shapam, it is Dosham. Dosha means some faults, and that can happen even when the parents are alive if the children are disrespectful to those parents, especially if those who are practicing spirituality in some way or the other, they should be very kind, very gentle, very loving, caring to their parents, irrespective of whatever the nature the parents may be. But if we are not spiritually strong enough, then one must take some guidance and then take proper measure in that relationship. One may ask a question, can women do Shraadham to their ancestor? Answer is no, it is not allowed in the Shastra. And again, please understand, this has nothing to do with equalities. Women are women, men are men. Both can never be same. Likewise, what they can do, what they cannot do also differs. What women can do, men can never do. What men can do, women can never do. Therefore, there is no point in simply taking this as an offense. Rather, with broad mind, we need to accept what is said in the Shastra. And Shastras only says good thing for us. So the answer is no, women cannot perform Shraddham. The reason is they are not supposed to recite the Vedic mantras. Please make a note, we are only telling Vedic mantras. We are not saying they cannot recite Srimad Bhagavatam, Mahabharatam, Ramayana. There are vast literatures that anyone can read. But the Vedas are pretty much restricted only for some group of people. Because woman does not go through the Upanayana process. Upanayana process is the sacred thread ceremony. They are not eligible to go to the Vedic school to study the Vedas. One point to mention here, because they have not studied Vedas or they are not allowed to study Vedas doesn't mean they are not qualified to attain Krishna, moksha. That has nothing to do with moksha. As long as Stree, woman follows their dharma, they attain moksha. As long as Purusha, men follows their dharma, they will attain moksha. So the criteria is not whether a person has studied Vedas or not. The checkpoint is whether one has developed bhakti or not. If there is bhakti, then that person is allowed. If there is no bhakti, he is not allowed. That's all. So coming back to our question, if women are not allowed to do Shraddham, and what will happen to her ancestor? Well, her husband does it. Husband does not only for his side of ancestors, but also for his wife's ancestors. In case of those women whose husband has passed away, their son can do. If she doesn't have a son, her daughter's son can do it. If she doesn't have a daughter's son, that's grandson, or even a daughter, then she can perform Shraddham by engaging a Brahmana, a priest, by giving that Brahmana the authority to perform on her behalf. Therefore, there are always rooms, even though the Vedas has certain policies and restrictions, it gives ways for everyone to be satisfied. So in this recording, we have only seen some basic understanding about Shraadham, Tarpanam. We have not answered the actual question yet. In our next audio, we will address the question directly. Thank you. Hare Krishna.